Hello and welcome to our September Masterclass. This is all about helping you translate the expertise and the experiences you've developed in your career into a viable consulting practice. I am Rafat Fields, founder and CEO of Powered to Rise. We are a digital marketing agency. We help you build digital ecosystems like websites, social media campaigns, and strategy to help you deliver your services from an operations standpoint, but also to market and generate new opportunities for your business growth. And we do this through the lens of bringing you closer to health policy advocacy because we want to help you build your platform so that you can reach the people that you serve us, but you can also become a part of shaping the policy that makes what you do possible for your community. With that, let's get right to it. In this agenda, you're not going to hear welcome beads, if you will. We reserve that for our live class. So come on in next month if you get an opportunity to join us live. But we're going to start with a little bit of history, going into the landscape of what's creating the possibilities and what we see moving forward. And then we'll get into the heart of this work, which is helping you come through this lens of knowing who you are equipped to serve and the value you deliver so you can craft that positioning statement. And we'll talk through what some next steps could look like if you wanted to go deeper in this work. I like to start with this. I call it honoring the ancestors. I live in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And as I transitioned to the West, I'm a Midwest girl, grew up in Chicago. And then for the last, let's say, 9 years before moving here, my family was located in Columbus, Ohio. So I have to say, I am solidly a Midwest girl. But here in the Phoenix area and other parts of the West, I've noticed that we often start gatherings with land acknowledgement, understanding who inhabited the earth and the spaces before us and how their journey and their sacrifices made it possible for us to walk into the opportunities that we have today. And so I expand on that rich cultural tradition and acknowledging that my feet are currently planted on land that were once inhabited by Native Americans and they were displaced from these land and they were forced to find other places to habitate. And as society evolved and we got to come through generations, all of what we do today is made possible through their presence here to begin with. I expand that to as an African American woman, as a Black woman in this country, but also my father is Nigerian. I'm a direct one generation removed descendant of Africa. I acknowledge the rich cultural tradition that especially West Africa has on my life. I then carry that forward. I consider myself to be an activist at heart. I think of the ancestors that made so much possible for what we enjoy today through movement building, through peaceful gathering, and really working to create better policies and systems. So, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Cesar Chavez in the farm workers movement, and also many civil rights leaders that you'll be here Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, Rosa Parks, they're all part of our story. And I end with Steve Jobs, where I have him looking back on the work that we're doing right now, because at Power to Rise, what we do is we build a tech platform. What we really do is make it possible for you to launch your movement, to bring your message forward into the world. And that's what Steve Jobs did for us. Him and Steve Wozniak and others who developed the Apple platform really pushed innovation forward in technology. They made it possible for creators like me to build systems like this for you. So it's completely full circle. And I think that if we expand our concept of what ancestry looks like, we may find it in some of the most uncommon places. I'll leave that with you for your consideration as well. So you may be wondering, okay, Rafat, I have come across this presentation and I'm curious, based on your history, how are you going to show me the road? How are you going to take me through this process of understanding how I can position myself in the market as a consultant? And how am I going to craft this strategy? Well, let me share a little bit of that background. I come to you with 20 years of background in corporate healthcare support. I have walked alongside providers, their back office staff, setting up systems, evaluating systems, finding efficiencies, and improving processes to help the care delivery process flow better for patients and the office staff in the interest of getting the products and services patients need to manage their health. In addition to walking side by side and being the go-to support and connector behind the desk, I've helped offices navigate processes around product access. But on the other side of the table, I have managed contracts and relationships, vendor selection processes. I have been an advisor on an RFP selection panel. I prepared countless sets of documentation to go into executive rooms where decisions are being made on budget allocation, vendor selection, resources, and training processes. So when you think about end to end on the spectrum of what does an organization go through when they decide, should we hire internally or should we bring in contracted support through a vendor like a consultant? Or if you're looking at what are the questions that the internal team has to be able to satisfy to get the approval, to secure the budget, to extend that contract to a consultant or vendor, all the way through the process of once that consultant is on board, what does onboarding and support look like to get to the successful end of an engagement, ensuring that the deliverables are in alignment with the organization's need, and concluding that engagement in a positive direction and leaving the door open for further relationship over time. These are areas that have a lot of experience. I also bring another set of experience in capital equipment sales, which is representing an organization and going through that bid selection process to win those contracts and then administering the relationship management for the term of those contractual agreements as well. So at different areas of the spectrum when it comes to this concept of being clear on your value, building the relationship, completing the requirements for the selection process and be extended the contract award. And then finally, the systems to manage delivery of those services. I have a deep layer of experience at all three ends of that. I hope that you will find value in going through this process. I've made it simple so that it's highly transferable regardless of the particular sector of healthcare for which you work. You should be able to apply this to what you do and run it through the filter of the language of who you are, the work you do, and the people you serve. So here's just a quick check-in for your. We're not in a live class. I won't have you drop me an email and tell me what you think, although you are welcome to. I'd love to hear it. Just quick check in with yourself. What brings you to the concept of starting a consulting practice? Is it because you want more flexibility? You think that your earning income potential could be greater if you build a solo practice? Or are you looking to better align your knowledge and skill sets with the places you want to create the most impact into the world with? Those are all valid reasons. Or maybe there's something else. Regardless of where you fall, I'd love to know what the answer is for you. I want to speak to you for just a moment the ever evolving landscape that is our healthcare system, specifically our public healthcare system. And I've been in rooms where we've been looking at the changes and policies. So as we record this in September of 2025, we are coming off of the transition of HR1 or the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that has been signed into law by the president and is now making its way into the rulemaking process. And states are readily coming together to figure out how to build a resource behind these upcoming policy changes. So in the world of Medicare specifically, there's a lot of change coming in terms of oversight, which will cascade into different areas of opportunity down the horizon based on how the policy is being shaped. The same thing is true for Medicaid. However, Medicaid is implemented by a state plan design. And so while The policy that comes out of Congress sets the sandbox, I like to call it. It creates the standards of what will become possible. When it comes to the Medicaid side of the house, you're still going to have to go through that individual adaptation process to see how the specifics land in each state. Whereas with Medicare, it is a federal program, a federally administered program. So there's going to be less variant there. However, there is still going to be some depending on if you're in the Medicare or Medicare Advantage space. So I call these shifts on the ground out mainly to say that all of this is having impacts between the policy shifts and the severe reduction in workforce headcount that is coming out of the federal government, Health and Human Services, that agency alone. You are seeing a rapid influx of candidates into the job market that are seeking their next employment opportunity. And you're also seeing a reduction in the number of inventory of jobs that are being posted. So with those two dynamics, things are becoming highly competitive. Even for the best of candidate, you will likely struggle in this particular type of market environment to get your name to break through the surface of a lot of really qualified and competitive noise that's in the job market today. But still, even with that being true, there are things that will set you apart. I would say cultural relevance to the audience that you are best positioned to serve deeply matters. Also, if you have a niche expertise, sometimes we think, well, I've only been working in the one specific task or the one specific area. That means you're highly niched. And that means that you are a very strong and solid go to in that space. So when we think about our brand, it's not just the what is policy making possible construct, it matters. But it's also about who we are, what we bring to the work, and more importantly, the relationship and the network at our disposal to open doors, because that is another way to create opportunity in the consulting space. So, as you keep this in mind, we are acknowledging that the job market is very competitive and there are a lot of people trying to break through that search process. Consulting may very well be your next best approach because if you're going to spend time intentionally building your brand, going through the strategy and the positioning to get your name recognized and known in the marketplace, with consulting, you have the opportunity to set your price relative to what the market will bear. Whereas with a job search, once you accept the salary, you're capped at that salary or compensation package that's extended through the offer and may or may not bear any relevance to the depth of your expertise and the value that you can create. So I'm saying, based on market condition and the runway in front of you for a job search process, consider that a consulting approach, while I can't make you the promise that it's easier, you're going to pour in just as much work to build your brand and your digital presence, but your earning opportunities will be greater because you're not kept by an agreement. I think that more and more, because technology has made this less of a barrier to set up your storefront, this is a viable option for many who are in the process of determining where their next opportunity is going to be. I make the case for you to consider starting your own practice. So there are three things I want to address right now that may be keeping you from taking that next step. One is you need lots of money to start up front. Not true with the consulting practice. Because depending on the work that you do, you may find that the barrier to entry here is very low. It's usually knowledge that you have and how you can translate that to a delivery. Not a lot of overhead required in that process, typically, but it really does come down to how you formulate your process and your approach. The next is that you have to be connected to a big name. Also not true. I would say it's more your relevance and connection to do the work. So if there's something unique in the way you approach it, the process or delivery of how you execute that creates novelty for your buyer, or do you bring relationships, network, understanding that is a quick win for your buyer? These are going to be more important. Your relevance is going to be more important than a big name in this space. The final myth is that you need tons of clients to make it work. The great news about being a consultant is that you can scale and build around clients. So you can start with a small engagement. And then as you successfully deliver that, you can expand your services around the same client, or you can leverage one engagement and go for a larger engagement. You may find that you don't have to take on a high volume of clients to make this financially sustainable, but you can go deeper with a smaller set of clients and really create value to their story and translate that into earning opportunity for both of you. If you leave with nothing else from being with me today, I want you to know that the three things that you need to make this work: brand, clients, systems. Brand, you have to know your positioning statement, how you create value and how it's different from anyone else doing this work. Clients, you need a consistent way of attracting the notice of people who are interested in what you do, and then sharing value that keeps them engaged and wanting to learn more. Because when we encounter people, they may not be at a place where they need to buy at that moment, but we want to create a connection, a process that allows you to connect with them and continue that relationship over time until they are ready to say it. And then finally, the systems for when you get your yes. Can you deliver operationally on providing the services or the deliverable? And how do you make a positive user experience? That comes down to calendar system, contracting, onboarding tools, all of those things. If you have those three arcs in place, the rest of this journey flows a lot smoother for you. I want you to hit pause and take a few minutes and really think about these elements through this specific lens. One, I want you to define your audience, who you are best equipped or most passionate about serving. Whichever one of those equations feels most aligned, use that one. The next thing I want you to do is think about what are the things that this audience is struggling with. Now, as you do this, you're going to do this in this order, but you may need to toggle back and forth a bit because our brain, I wish it completely fired off of logic, but sometimes we have to tap into that emotion to unleash the doorway to get to the logic. And here's what I mean by define your audience. And then as you start thinking about the problems that they are facing, you're going to check in with yourself and say, am I passionate about helping this audience overcome that particular problem? The answer may be no for you. And so you have to come back in at this a couple of times and say, I know how to do a lot of things. What are the areas that I want to become known for being the go to for this group of people and the problem that I can help them with? I want to do life with these people around this problem. Very important to consider it through that lens. So as you think about your audience, you may find, especially in consulting, that you're going to have a difference between who is consuming the work that you do and who is buying the work that you do. And perhaps because we're in healthcare, who is impacted by the work that you do. Impact could be the patient, the consumer, or caregivers around them. The user might be providers or back office staff, and then the buyer could be something completely different, like a hospital system or a health plan or a lot of types of entities in between. So, regardless of where you are in the healthcare ecosystem, I need you to click down between defining your audience. You gotta know who the buyer is. You gotta know who the user is. You need to be able to articulate their problems in their specific language. And you need to be able to look at all of the categories of people that fall within your audience as you frame out the language of this third section, your solution. Your solution is the transformation that you create through the products or services you provide. So, as you do this, you may find that you're going to go back in and do some shifting because the work that you do and the passion behind how you create this experience for your audience, you may need to tap into different layers. I want to empower you to say, I have so many years of experience. I could approach solving the problem in so many different ways, but it's really these sets of people that light my heart on fire. And while I am equipped and positioned to help many, I want to build my brand around helping this particular group. It is better to know who you are and to serve from the core of what genuinely lights you up and what brings purpose and passion to your daily life than try to force yourself into a place that is not organically aligned to the center of how you operate best. So, this final component of this work matters because it's going to depend on the level of connection between your audience and how they experience the pain created by their problem. If you have chosen a problem that is highly recognizable by your audience, you may find that you may not need to speak so much to the pain literally. And if that is true, you may not have to be so specific about the this works matter because part, because that's very interconnected to how distinguishable is the pain that your audience is experiencing. Now, it never hurts to include the this works matters because section, but I just want you to understand when it comes to buyer psychology, this is designed to strengthen and shore up what should already be a very compelling statement at the top. So I would spend the focus on making sure that I help solve problem by section is extraordinarily tight, and then bring your focus down to the this work matters because I also want to give you some insight from rooms that I have been in recently that are talking through what to expect on the horizon of healthcare. The reality is your consulting practice will come through the lens of what your specific niche of expertise is. However, all of us, we're human, and the human brain does tend to fire in a specific way. We see the world through the lens of what we know, and we often create the tunnel vision. And sometimes when we speak with others or put it out in a more dynamic set of consideration, we can see that there are other possibilities that exist. And that's what this slide is designed to help you with. Regardless of what you know how to do and who you believe sits at the center of the audience that you're most equipped to create transformation for, I guarantee you there's a broader set of stakeholders who see the value in your work, who would be willing to compensate you for your expertise. So once you're successfully locked in your consulting brand positioning statement, I'm going to bring you right back into this journey around brand, clients, and systems, and remind you that this is the starting point. This is the tip of the iceberg. Your brain is an ever evolving thing. It's going to grow and change over time as you change. That's something to be expected and to embrace. It's a good thing. But as we take you from this concept of writing it down on paper to making it real out in the world, we're going to look at how we take that positioning statement and create a visual brand identity. We're going to talk about creating a system to help bring referrals and people who are interested and keep that conversation going until they're ready to buy. And then finally, we're going to talk about the systems that when you have them on board that make delivering so much easier and meeting that threshold of providing a good client experience. Because you made it this far on the journey with us, please take advantage of this resource that we've created for you, which is a consulting assets audit. You'll find it in our Notion dashboard, which is going to house this recording. It's going to house the slides that I'm going through right now with you. It will also have all of the links that you'll need to come back to whenever you're ready to dig even deeper into building out your consulting brand strategy. If you're saying, I'm ready to get started in this work right now, I want to encourage you to join us in the September On Your Ladder workshop series. In these 3 workshops, we're going to do the very things we described. Workshop 1, we're going to go into Canva and we are going to build your visual brand identity upon the foundation of your brand positioning statement that we just outlined here. And in the workshop number 2, we're going to take you through setting up your we're open for business systems. For Create a Website, we're going to give you a system for delivering value through a referral lead magnet and nurturing relationships with people over time. And then finally, in that third workshop, we're going to go through client delivery systems. So everything you need to onboard clients and contracts, create invoices, and deliver proposals. These are the systems that run behind the scenes to create a rock solid client experience. So if you know you're ready to start into this next chapter, please take advantage, scan this QR code, or you can visit the URL. It's ownyourladder.com/workshop. It'll give you some options for how you can join us inside of these training sessions. We build side by side. We'll give you the templates so you don't have to start from scratch. And then we will be there with you to customize them in real time so that you leave with resources that you can use right away. We'd love to hear feedback from you. So if you found this session valuable or there are things that you wish it included, by all means, one, feel empowered to shoot an email. I, Rafat Field, the CEO, read this inbox personally. I see your messages and I want to hear what came up for you. If there's something we can do to make it a better experience for you or the next class that comes through, let us know. You could also visit us at our website for more information. More than anything, I just want to thank you for being on the journey with us. Whether we ever get to do client work together or not, I hope there's something that you take from this that will be inspiration or maybe a little seed that helps you rise a little further on your journey. Either way, I'm so thankful that you are here and you took time to watch this masterclass. And I hope that I will see you out in the world very soon.